Oh, may tao kepi apeti kule yo chante Washington na pechi zapulo. Na le apeti kule tao ki iwongla kapik te he ona wale ho hena jipi kile tao ki kash na inapishka happy na ha apeti kule hena mucheta ha a wogla ka na watching lo. I'd like to say greetings and blessings to all of you. And I'm sure that the things that I was going to say today have been already you've been told anyway. But I want to start by saying that I am the secret bundle keeper. That since 96 and today I'm still the bundle keeper. So I want to say that when we were young, that our ways were outlawed, and it wasn't until 1978 the Freedom of Religion Act, and I was kind of like a part of that, like that Freedom of Religion Act, even though it's our, like the elder said, our way of life is it's like ceremonies, and it can't be filmed, and it can't be written because it's not a religion. It's not like a Bible. It's a way of life that we live. So what happened was like when I was young, we never had any problems at all. And I would say that back when we were young, nobody wants to be Indian, and we were probably in those stages when people were going to jail for running ceremonies. So that continued like in the 50s and 60s, and that's what my grandmother said. She told me that when you were born in the early 50s, she said that that's when a good Indian can now drink whiskey. But we are slaves up to that point. We have no right. The women have no right. But in the 70s, in the 60s, and the 70s, they talked about the red power and black power, American Indian movement came into view at the time, and we had like a lot of people don't even know that the sacred bundle exists, because like when I was young, when they made me the sacred bundle keeper, 1966, it was just a handful of traditional elders that came to ceremony, and they prayed, and for 4 days, that ceremony lasted. And anyway, I realized that they put me through like become an age ceremony, where I experienced that, and they told me that well, we got you new everything new, the clothing that you're going to wear. and said, "You're going to go in the lodge, the Inipi, the purification lodge, and wipe yourself off." We boiled that water, that sage, and sweetgrass together and made it into medicine to cleanse you. And he talked about that chanupa, the sacred pipe. And I said, at that age, I thought, no, am I worthy of this? Am I worthy of taking care of the pipe? Because it was so strict. Our ceremonies were so strict. And all the protocols that came with that bundle. That you can't use foul language, you can't cuss. And the Spirit chose the bundle keeper. The Spirit chose the medicine people. A man does not choose the bundle keeper. A man does not choose make another medicine man or woman. So those are things that I was told not to ever use foul language, to respect the ground that I walk on, not to abuse anything, because everything has spirit on this earth. Nahi kile wakha na awang kigla kapo. Ta kweche apeti kile. And makak neche mayani kile. Lila ahokilapi. In the English words, like the white buffalo cap woman said, you walk upon the earth. And when you do that, walk in the sacred manner. So when you speak Lakota in our language, sacred language, it means a lot. But when you put it in English, it doesn't mean that much, because it changes the energy, the walk. And so we have to respect that Changleshka Wakha, that sacred hoop. That's what the elders told me. The Changleshka Wakha hai Nayajiki, the Ahoki Pa. You come to a time in your life when you're going to become more spiritual. That we showed you what the greatest the gift that the Creator gave us is your life, a gift, and you need to take care of that gift, the mind, the body, and spirit. Hewakha, everything has its place. So being a human being, we learn to take care of our body, learn how to take care of our mind, how to go to ceremony with a good mind. So they even told that a leader has to be healthy. You can't, according to the elders said someday, people will drink. Kaitomi. And this is a teaching that I was taught, that Shangleshka Wakhan, that sacred hoop, you can stand there with 2 feet on the ground. And you're going to place that chanupa in your hands, that pipe in your hands. And that's a direct communication. And that's what I said. This is to me, that's sovereignty there. Stand upon the earth on your 2 feet with that chanupa pipe in your hand. Now that's sacred. This is who we are, speaking the language. So that's what the elders told me. There's no one person higher than the other. But you got to stay humble to stay in that circle. But that circle is everything goes in a circle. Everything starts in a circle, but there's no beginning and no ending. That place where you stand, you go. Everything goes in a circle like that. If you do good, it'll come back to you twice. But if you do bad, it's not good. It's not good for you. And the way you conduct yourself might hurt your family, your people, or the environment. Because it's about walk, it's about energy. Hel ila walk hankile walk. Hecho na ta kukash na nakiyukhe. Everything has a spirit. And everything that has an energy. So in our way, our ceremonies, we work with that energy. But we learn that there's the good spirit and bad spirit. And we learn that we have to walk in balance. Bakakan. They say that, so the elders told me that, you know, if you go fall off that road, and drug and alcohol program, they call it the red road, Chankuluta. But when you, in our tradition, that's a sacred hoop. Then, so you follow that. You have no choice to follow that sun. You have no choice to follow that night, the moon, the stars. You have no choice but to get up in the morning. But when you get up in the morning, you get up with a good mind. Because everything is about spirit. Everything is about energy. So you pray, you smudge in the morning, and things will be good. But if you don't respect that, it's gonna come back to you. You know, somebody's gonna suffer for it. That's what they all say. So you follow that Changleshka Waka, the sacred hoop, in a circle. Then if you fall off, then they call it Ka'itomani. Like you spin off the track. And later on, they're going to say, Heka Itomni, you know. And pretty soon, people using, back then it was alcoholism. You know, so the word for falling off the wagon, that's what they all say, falling off the wagon. When you do that, you know, you spin off and you're Kaitomani. And later on, hey Itomani, hey Itomani. You know, that person is drunk. Like out of balance, drunk. So that's the way our tradition is. And today, you know, we're dealing with a lot of other drugs and meth and, you know, so many things that it's hurting Ojimaka, the environment. And now the elders, I've been working with the elders on this for a long time. Because today we say that Mother Earth is sick and has a fever. We delivered a message to United Nations and warned the people that, you know, the way things are going is not good. Well, the white buffalo calf that was supposed to be born down the road, you know, is born today. 1994. The first white buffalo calf was born in Janesville, Wisconsin. And our prophecy says that after the first white buffalo was born, then there's going to be many white animals shall be born all over the world. Maka'o ancha hese na ona daku shicha na ona iahandu. Wati na waki kapikte. What was on tankinke o gaku kikte. Makochi kile daku shicha na ona au. So when the white buffalo calf was born, I said, now we are at the crossroads. This is 1996. We are at the crossroads. Either be faced with a lot of chaos, global disasters, tears from our relatives' eyes. We're going to see earthquakes, volcanoes, big winds, global disasters. We're going to see a lot of sickness and viruses. We're going to see no more honorable wars. It's all about money. We're going to see a lot of hatred, anger, speaking the words that doesn't belong in the ceremony. We're going to see a lot of hurt and all the things that we see. It's going to keep going, or we can unite spiritually, because Wajimaka needs us now more than ever. We got to unite spiritually, all nations, all faiths, one prayer. And hechitu. And ahani wuchoy akichena ibcha. I say that because those came from ceremony. So when I start talking about the white buffalo, a lot of people said, why you talk like that? No, it came from ceremony. And today, as I look back, I see a lot of sickness. I see the pain, the suffering. I see many changes in a short time as it really escalated. And today, we need to stand in prayer. That's what I said. Even at Standing Rock, I told it when we were there, spiritual leader of Standing Rock, don't pick up weapons. This is, you guys stand in prayer. And that's what it's all about. And I know that we're up against a lot. That's what I told the people, this is a different kind of war. We may win the battle at Standing Rock, but we never won the war, because this is a global issue right now. And we're going to see a lot more. And it's going to take all people. But in order to do that, we need to correct ourselves. We need to protect the sacred. We need to protect our ceremonies, because that's where it's all at. So there's so much that prophecy tells us that someday, everything you can sell, people are sell everything, and sure enough, it's happening right now. Then a lot of people are saying that just blaming each other, and even we don't look at the way our leadership is, because our children and our the grandmothers and the elders, grandfathers, they're all suffering. The language, the sacred teachings. And today, a lot of people don't care. Live by day, living by day, just to pay bills. When our responsibility is not about that. Our responsibility is who we are, what the Creator gave us, what the Creator made you. And, you know, we're waiting for somebody to tell us what to do. You know, that's what there's a lot of people say. But, you know, you got to have that faith and belief in that Ochoka, the altar that we need to protect. That's everybody's responsibility. When you see people selling their ceremonies, when people are causing problems through ceremony, that's not right. Because I told people, I said, no, you can't have money on your mind when you're doing ceremonies. No, this is in our tradition that the sacred hoop, when everything goes in a circle. But today, like the elders said, no, we're living a time of just give me. We're not going after medicine. We're not going after the way our tradition is. So there's a lot to work with right now. And, our ways were outlawed, and we can't do our ceremonies. That's just recently, back in the 60s and 70s. And today, we're still at that point where we're healing. And but as I tell people, I said, there's no time to heal. We got to stand up right now. We need to protect and tell people, no, that's wrong. You can't abuse our ceremonies. That's wrong what you're doing. Making suffering, making our elders cry and our children. We got to make a home. We got to take care of our children, take care of our elders, and be a Tioshpai. That's why they call us a tribe, because we help each other. And we protect our people and the land that we stand on. Now, this is what the Creator gave us. But today, we are so involved into the man-made laws. The Creator gave us all this medicine to use. When COVID happened, I told the people, I said, I don't want to take that shot, because I believe in the way the Creator gave my life to be a traditional person, to work with that traditional medicine. And today, I don't have shots or vaccinated. And so I stand on protecting our traditional medicine, and I stand on protecting our ceremonies, because we are living a time when we can't even trust anybody. We live in a time when there's so much danger, and it's a sick environment, a very sick world. It's not healthy. We need to be healthy. We need to create that space to be healthy people. And so this is a way to start, because it's not too late to start, because in our ceremonies it says you got to have that faith and belief. And you can let people, I've seen people get doctored from ceremonies that are on the deathbed. And today, no, those are things that we have to get back to protect the people and not abuse women, but to be part of that circle, welcome them into a circle in a healing way. Because that circle, there's the man and the woman, stand together. So that's why I talk about our Tioshpaye, our camp, and man-made laws is hurting us more than ever. And I know that our prophecies say that we got to go back to the sacred. The way of life is what the Creator gave us. So I believe in that. Even though we are living this modern world, we're still we're common people. We're still people of the earth that works, and nobody should tell us how to live, because this is our medicine, this is our ceremony, and that's why I went to speak at Black Hills that October, I think it's October 6th, because the language is sacred, and we need to take care of our ceremonies. What the Creator gave us, our language and our ceremonies, and other people can pray with us, but we have to run our ceremonies. And it's kind of sad because when I was kind of young, back in the 70s, when the elders said, in my dream, I had a dream, and I saw our people standing in a circle outside the Sundance, and the white people are dancing. And I said, that's coming. I said, you need to take care of that. So how can we take care of that, when it should be the other way? And the elders said that, I see that, someday the people, the elders are not living to be a good age. And yet I see young people leaving this earth early. Makakile, Wichoni kile wakan ash. Kechalakina, wana makuchana makashnakep. Oniuniate echbichapi. The young people have disrespected and lost their path and stuck in this world. That's what. It's not. That's the best way I can speak in English. But it means a lot to us in our language. You got to understand the language. You got to understand that the grass, everything is a spirit all around us, even the water. So the elders told me that the language is sacred. We need to protect the water. Maniwichoni. Because long time ago, on this Turtle Island, everything is sacred. The elders said that even the mountains and the hills, the rivers and the creeks, and everything has a very sacred name. But today, we're trying to change that back to some of our sacred sites and rivers and mountains, back to not like maybe Devil's Tower. I'm trying to change Devil's Tower back to Matkotipila since 1996. But no, these are things that is holding us down because the way the life is, it's holding us down from being healthy. So that's what I want to speak to you today. Maybe you can help us address the abuse of ceremonies. And there's so much abuse that's happening, and that's why the earth is sick and making our people sick too. And taku yutokshapi, when you change or divide, it split the personality, and that's what we have today. So things like that are very comes from a very powerful place, but like we don't want to understand that that somebody else handle it like that when it's affecting our families. Everything that I speak about is affecting our families because we're not protecting the sacred. We're not telling people, you're wrong. We're not addressing the problems. Like the one the elders said, if you don't address it or take care of it, it's you're part of the problem. Nija hona yeche yahinaji. That means like that. So when you speak Lakota, it really means a lot, but when you put in English, it's kind of different like that. So, but I want to say that no, we need to. That's what we're doing right now. Is we're working to protect our ceremonies and false leaders, false prophets, and we are working. We do have a website right now. It's not out there, but we got it all together, so we can work with people and address the people that are doing us wrong. These are, but if you don't stand and protect the sacred, you're not gonna have nothing to stand on. That should do. I'd like to say that much right now. Okay.
Lamie, thank you, Arvel. Those are good words, and we'll certainly take them into consideration with everything we're doing here.
Okay.
If not leading the consideration. Thanks again. Okay, so Fred and Frank and Rob, we're going to continue on with the legal tradition panel. Just a few other things, domestic things. We do have smudge at that table over there. If you want to smudge, I did smudge some of the people here. I run back and forth with my other little duties, so don't feel like I didn't want to smudge you. I'd like to just do that. But if you want to smudge, it's right over there. There's lots of sage and Lyndon sitting there. He can help. So the other thing I got out of what's been said so far is, what does it take to heal? Our First Nations, we have many First Nations here, and before we wrap this up tomorrow, we're certainly going to take the mic around and speak to everybody here and have them speak to us. And something I've mentioned a few times at a legal gathering we were at in 2013 is a lot of our Indigenous scholars, judges, governor generals, whatever, they said just do it. Why are you waiting for permission? And Arvel's saying, if you know something needs to change, well, be part of the solution. And so I know in Alberta, a lot of First Nations have solar panels now, they have wind turbines now. That's a big step into changing the energy on reserve, and what you're doing off reserve is reflected because you're already incorporating that. And then after hearing Dr. Clifford Cardinal, basically what he's saying is they have the technology to clean up the water, but business does not want to accept the technology because they're making money some other way. They've already put agreements in, contracts in for other forms of energy that are polluting, that are not helping our children, that the water is not good. We've got too much chlorine in it. It's affecting it's a main ingredient of what's causing diabetes, and it's affecting us in many other ways, eczema and I think about it. I've been filtering my water, but with carbon, not with lava powdered rocks, probably for 25 years, because what I used to do is go out and camp in the mountains by myself. This was something I had to do for healing because I didn't get all the teachings growing up. And I'd drink the water in the mountains, and it was always so good. So I'd pack up gallons of water and bring it back to Edmonton. And then there came a time I couldn't do that anymore. I didn't have that kind of time. I had family, I had lots of responsibilities. So I got my little Brita, and I, cleansed my water every day. But hearing from Clifford Cardinal, and he has this solution, and a lot of our First Nations are not taking advantage of the solution of powdered lava rock that has cleaned up things, and then taking the sludge or the algae or whatever that's on the water and burying it. We have solution and it's not being used. So what does it take to heal? It takes all of us to talk to our band council and band leaders and saying, this is part of leadership, right? Someone was talking about, Tom Porter was talking about leadership, and George Saddleback was talking about leadership. What does it take? Each of you can be a leader, and I think by the time Clarence Louis is done tonight, you'll all be leaders, and you'll have little Indian up t-shirts. So wind turbines, solar panels, lava rock, and Clifford Cardinal's right here. You can talk to him, work something out to make this happen on our communities, and that's why he did it in the first place, is to help our communities, not to make $1 million, not to, drive a Mercedes-Benz, but to help our people heal and get better and be all the beautiful people that we have in our DNA. Somehow we know how. This has been misplaced by a lot of exterior things. Oh, you got to have all these things in order to be well. You've got to have nails. You got to have eyelashes. You got to have, all these Michael Kors clothes or what. Come on. Who needs that stuff? You need the beauty inside. You have that beauty inside, and it goes outside. So I'm on a rant now. The other thing I was thinking of with legal traditions. Our star blankets are something that are used in all 7 of our ceremonies. And it's a reminder that we come from the Star Nation. And it's a reminder that we're supposed to conduct ourselves in a certain way if we want to dance across that threshold when we're ready to go. And the other thing, I don't know if Umayaz is here. Is she here? I'm wondering if you wanted to talk a little bit about a carrier First Nations, because that is a law in itself. And so, because, when they were carrying the Ark of the Covenant, they did that too. They carried what she's going to talk about around with them. And Frank Foolscrow, our holy man, who's also called Eagle Bear, Mato Wambly, he talked about being a hollow bone. St. Francis of Assisi talks about being an instrument of peace. You know? So we keep our hollow bone clean, so we're a good instrument. So we can carry that message in a good way, not to shame or blame or target, trigger and put people into more trauma, but to help them reach inside themselves and find all the good things they already have and make that a part of their lives, make it a part of their family lives. And, you know, the children are at the center of our legal traditions, I believe. Then I'm very opinionated. Here's Umayaz Dulkin. She's Interior Salish.
Good afternoon. My name is Umayaz Dulkin. And it means little mother. My last name means red. I had a lot of teachings from my mom and my step-grandmother. My mom lived to be a sweet age of 95. One of the teachings that I learned from my grandmother was we had to go up to the mountains. We had to go dip in the water 4 times, 4 days, 4 times in the morning and 4 times in the evening for 4 days in the glacier water. It was really cold, and I remember my sister had taken me up there, and I was upset. I said, I'm gonna get an earache. It won't get better. She said, no, it won't bother you, sister. And the third dunk was always the hardest, even like with the sweats. The third round's always the hardest. But the fourth dunk in a glacier, cold water, it's just like, I don't know how to explain it, but your skin is dancing. The sun, whether the sun hits it or not, your skin is just like sparkling. It's so warm. It's so healing. I've let go of so much up there. I did a lot of let going. And thanks to my grandmother's teachings, one of my grandmother's teachings, I've learned a lot from my mother too. I know how to make pitch salve. I've only made it 3 times in my life, and I'm gonna make it again. I know when my mom used to make it, she made it for chicken pox, whether if we had a cold, we put it on our chest. Chicken pox, it got rid of it overnight. She raised 4 of us kids out in the bush. And I'm the youngest one, so I'm just winging it, just remembering what I can remember and what I can bring forth. I so believe that each and every one of us have our own inner power. We have our own home fires. It's up to us to keep it going. It's lit, whether you know it or not. It's still going. You're still here. That means it's still lit. And if you feel down, it means you need to spark it up. Go to ceremonies so you can beam and help others. That's what I know and what I was taught from my grandmother and my mom. There's many stories that I know from my dad has told us. Well, we used to fall asleep listening to my dad at night. We used to go camp out and gather food for the winter. And when my dad, there was 17 of us on my dad's side from the first and second marriage. I'm from the second marriage. And then on my mom's side, there's 10 of us. There's 7 of us left. And to my understanding, there's 4 or 6 of us left on my dad's side. And I come from the grizzly bear clan. there's some powerful stories that my dad used to tell about the grizzly bear. There's a certain way of, back then you used to be able to eat the grizzly bear, and there's a certain way of killing the grizzly bear, giving an offering. The grizzly bear will come to you, or any kind of bear you're hunting for will give up its life for you. But there's certain ways of putting its guts in underneath the tree and putting boughs on it, putting the skull on a long pole on a special direction. I was pretty small when my dad used to go hunting, but I remember a little bit, and I remember some of the stories he told. When the missionaries came, my dad's grandfather told my dad, which would have been my great-great-grandfather, there's this white man that went out hunting, and he shot this grizzly bear, and he laughed. And my great-grandfather said, "You don't laugh at the grizzly bear, especially the grizzly bear." And that guy, he would laugh because of the way he shot that bear and the way he killed that grizzly bear. And he made fun of that bear. And I remember my dad saying he laughed, he cut it open and threw the guts, and he cut the grizzly bear's head off and just threw it and laughed. And my grandfather said, "That's not our way, that's very disrespectful." And I don't know if it was the same year or the following years, that same white person came back, and the grizzly bear killed him the way that, and treated that white person, how that white person killed that grizzly bear, how he treated, how he threw his guts, didn't even eat, knocked off its head. The head went flying. I know more stories, but this is the most prominent one I know of now. My memory's slowly coming back, but yeah, I so believe we all have our own self-inner power. It's lit in each and every one of us. It's up to us to keep it going, to relight it, to spark, so we can draw other people closer to us, our own people, and keep our family, keep our people going on our healing path. That's what I know about my own healing path. I would say. Oh, there's another story I would like to say about my grandmother sharing how we got the name Carrier. Is when the missionaries first came, the grandmothers or the mothers, they carried, if their spouse passed, they would burn the body, and whatever ashes and bones that were left were put in a basket. There was a basket that was made, and the woman packed it on their back for 2 years. And the 2-year mark, when the 2-year mark came up, they put it up on a tree, that basket with the bones and the ashes. I don't know what kind of tree, but a special tree in a special direction. And when the missionaries came, that's how we got our name, Carriers. We're actually Dene people of the land. And what I learned about my dad too, when he first got his birth certificate, he was a little boy, and that was in 1903. So he was born in the 1800s. And, I didn't learn this until I was 30 years old, and I'm still learning. I don't try to know everything. I'm still learning today. I still talk to elders, and I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of being up here to be able to speak. And I'd like to thank Joanne for all her support. I would say, Chinalia.
Right. Thanks, Umayaz. Her son's around here too. He spoke on the first day. He used to come in as a little toddler to Red Road. We're very proud of the Dulkins and what they've done. So we're going to go to Fred and Frank on the legal traditions for them to share their stories. They were also with Clifford. He's gone now, or maybe. Okay, if he wants to come back and sit with them. Alicia had to go to a funeral in Enoch. They've had lots and lots, as most of our First Nations have. So Fred and Frank, you want to take it away? You've got a microphone there. Is this one working? Yes, this one's working.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Where are you and who first? I'm caught in the middle, so I guess I have to speak first. I really don't want to say too much, but I'm happy to be here, and it's in the hands of the Lord what happens in this earth. We may not think so, but we're here because He brought us here today. I started to work with the elders when I was 6 years old. I don't know how it happened, but over the years I began to pick up things, a little bit here, a little bit there. However, at the same time, I was mischievous, and so I don't know how many times I got fired and got chased away and called down and everything. So I can say that I'm a greenhorn Denisukline because I was not raised in the bush. However, even so, my childhood friends were the ones that protected me, and my childhood friends are the ones that helped me along. A lot of times they asked me to do things, and I didn't do it, and I'm sorry today. And one of them was to see a place where the fish spawn in the fall time. And the place they asked me to go to was quite a ways from town. It's about 30 miles from town, no road, and the only way to get there is by dog team at that time. The fish is, they call it jumbo whitefish. It's about that big, and also maybe this high and maybe that thick. They said 5 men cannot eat one jumbo whitefish. They said there was so many that you could just see them at the spawning. I never did see it, no, but I guess they still spawn. So that brings me to tailing spawn that was mentioned earlier and in the minds of many people around the world. I was in the tar sands development, and I helped design the first Syncrude tailings pond in spring of 1980. The engineer that I was working with told me, he said, "You don't know what you're designing, but in the future you will know." So, as usual, I just listened and said yes, and now it's 40 years ago, and I'm in the process of getting the tailings pond, start the cleaning. That's where it's at. But everybody's holding back. It's a mess. The only way I can describe it is from the top to the bottom to the bedrock. I think it's about 200 feet deep, and the whole land is wiped out. And in the process, they use water to clean the tailings pond. As a civil engineer, I know that on projects, all the projects can only go ahead if they say that they will put the land back the way it was. Unfortunately for this tar sands, that cannot be done because they want to produce 1 million barrels per day. And in my calculation, it comes to 10 barrels per second. Nobody can produce that in the world, but that's what they say. Coming back to where my home territory, the one I'm talking about is tar sands from Fort McMurray north. I was born at the Lake Athabasca. My mother said it was after I was born, we landed at Clearwater Junction, Fort McMurray, New Year's Eve, 1946. In 1980, I helped design the tailings pond. And I really can't say too much more, but I'm hoping that soon the people will begin to clean the tailings pond. I guess they're around the world too. It has to be done. The amount of water they use in one day, it's in the millions of barrels of water, clean water they use in one day right now. Where they get the water from, I don't know. I'm just so nervous here. I'm just sweating, talking about it. So I'll leave it up to my colleague Frank here. He will speak on the geology part of the whole of our home territory.
Okay, thank you, Fred. Yes, hi everybody. My name is Frank A. MacDonald. I think he's my relation, John A. MacDonald, because I met some people from Prince Edward Island, and maybe for the mess he made, maybe I'll try and help if God uses me, But I don't know why I took geology, but I took Geology 10 in Yellowknife. 1966, I was in grade 10, after trying to go trapping for 2 years. My dad caught 70,000 muskrats in 1948, $5 a piece. I guess they used them in the war to keep their ears warm, eh? And so my mother was, I guess he married her at a residential school in Aklavik, and I think she had a bunch of girlfriends that did most of the work, eh? Anyhow, my mother was an Anglican, and she was an orphan at 2, and her dad was Fred Bazona. Fred was from Texas. Fred Bazona, we found out later on when I met Uncle Bill. He was 75 in 1972 when I graduated from NAIT. And Uncle Bill was so happy to see his niece. And Uncle Anson was in Seattle, and he was 80, yeah? And Uncle Bill, my mom hung around there with her uncles. They put her on her lap just like a little girl, eh? They were so, and she was 40 then, eh? So I'm the oldest boy of 4, and we went down there, took a train, and got down there and met Uncle Bill. And he had his oldest boy was a geologist, like I am. I got a Bachelor of Science in Geology, eh? 2 years at NAIT, they give me 1 year in credit at the University of Alberta. I met Marilyn Gladys Buffalo. I talked about it, and she wrote to 5 different schools. And we picked the U of A, so I spent 3 more years there, and thank God I got a fractured skull at the racetrack in my 4th year of school. I quit drinking for 3 years, you know, so it's good. And I stuck a needle in my arm and was peeing straight blood 8 months later. Doctor said no drinking. I quit drinking for another 2.5 years. It's good. I like drugs. They saved my life. I like booze. I'm an alcoholic, 37 years sober. And God did it. I didn't do nothing. I just asked him to help me quit drinking just for today. That's all I did. And he helped me now. Every morning I ask God to help me. And I say thank you at night. You know. So. And George was 96 when he died. He told me, he said, hang on. You're not going to believe what's going to happen. And I am hanging on because Mr. Man alive. I want to live to be 120, and I'm only 75, but next month I'll be 76, you know. And so my dad ran away. My mother ran away from my dad in 55, when we were in residential school. I come back, and my granny had to raise us 3 boys for 1 month. And finally, my mother cried every night to my poor friend, her man, George Lemieux from Paradise Hill, Saskatchewan. And he drove from Creston, BC, up to the airport in Edmonton, industrial, picked us 3 boys up, and we rode in the back of that pickup. It was like a covered wagon, eh? And there was a mattress in there. He went back to Creston, BC, and I spent from 56 to 64, 3 years in Creston, and it sounds like about 5 years in Cranbrook. So I know all about the Kootenai Indians there, eh? And I remember going to Port Hill, Idaho, and they were saying that there was I remember they said there was Indians right there just before Port Hill. My stepfather, George Lemieux, liked to drink every day, and you could drink on Sunday there, eh? So it was 7 miles from Creston. So anyhow, later on, I got to be the president of Acacia Hall, a residential school in Yellowknife, from 66 to 69. I was asking questions. The whole bunch of them resigned. They made me the president, eh? And they want me to be the president of the school of 4,000. Yellowknife was only 4,000 then, eh? They wanted me to be the president. I said no. They made me vice president anyhow. And we had a sit-down strike in 1968, and we shut the residential school down. The only reason I wanted to shut it down is because I had a brother and 2 other white boys and 2 of my best friends, 6 of us and 3 girls. We shut down Acacia Hall residential school in 1968. The only reason I want to have more time on Saturday and Sunday. Now I looked at it all these years, I think I want to drink. Oh, I love drinking, you know, but I can't do it. I steal, I fight, I lie, so I'm not supposed to drink maybe. So I can't drink, you know, so, but anyhow, I wonder why I took geology, and I guess Mr. Overbo was from Viking, Alberta. He was teaching geology 10 in grade 10, and geology 20 in grade 11, and no geology 30. I guess I'm talking too much. So anyhow, I took, that's why I took geology. So I ended up, the only reason I went back to school is I was trapping with my friend. My dad trained him, eh? And we went out. It took 3 days to go 80 miles. We had 11 dogs. He had 7, I had 4. I had 4, don't mind my language, you guys. This is what we call female dogs, bitches up north, eh? That's what they call them. And you're not supposed to have a female on the dog on the trap line because the wolves, when they get in heat, they breed them, eh? So you got to have all boys, like, you know. So I had these 4 dogs and had to shoot one because it wasn't pulling. But I went there visiting the net on the 4th day, 40 below, feeding 11 dogs and barehanded. And I thought, if I ever get out of this alive, I'm going to go back to school, like they told me in Cranbrook. And I wouldn't go back to school until I got thrown in jail in 1966, in April, in Pine Point. I was working at the biggest lead zinc mine in the world, you know. And they threw me in jail, and Justice of the Peace was my elementary school teacher, Mr. McCollum. And I felt like you couldn't, I felt so small. I tried to visit the mayor's daughter's window, mayor's daughter, drunk. Well, they threw me in jail for trespassing by night, drinking underage, I was 19, and breaking and enter. And they put me in 3 weeks in jail. That is the best thing that ever happened to Frank McDonald. I got so pissed off at myself and so ashamed. I went to Edmonton and tried hiding. I went to Cranbrook, Creston. I got so mad at myself, I went back to school. 19 years old in grade 10. October, I turned 20. There was 13-year-old girls in my class. And that same girl, the mayor's daughter in Hay River, was in grade 10. Well, my God. And all the girls from Hay River, white girls, they say, "What? How come you don't act so cocky now?" But I lied. Of course I lied to them. But of course I felt, it was humiliating for three years to be in that school with all them girls that knew what I did. And I guess I might have been a little oversexed, but not that bad. But we would have had 10 kids. My wife, I got her pregnant 9 times. And she got so tired of it. I was trying to beat my granny. She had 15. She got so tired she got her tubes tied. That's how selfish I was. And I'll tell you what, we had 4 miscarriages. Now I know why. Thanks to Tom Porter. We argued all the time. And I couldn't kill anything, so it was all right there. I never killed a moose. I'm going to be 76 yet. I've been in school 22 years. Grade 9, 3 years, 2 years at NAIT, 3 years in university. And the best thing I ever did was listen to my mother. She said, "This guy we adopted from Switzerland, he's taken this course, you should take it, my boy." And here I got a Bachelor of Science in Geology. I thought I was above college, put the application in. They accepted me, 68 of us. 15 of us took the course, 6 of us graduated. And I had a scholarship, had a 79 average. I never did that before because I was drinking all the time. I barely passed at NAIT, the only one to flunk. I barely passed in university, thank goodness to the fractured skull and alcohol. See, I love alcohol, but I love God better because He turned my weakness into a strength. So now look out, guys. I am going to do something because my biggest weakness is alcohol. And I know how to beat it. And so I guess this tar sands thing, I wanted to be the president of Syncrude when I went to work there in 1979. I thought if Jack Gallagher could do it, Dome Petroleum, the highest paid man in Canada, he's a geologist with a Bachelor of Science. If he could do it, I could do it. And you can do anything you want, anybody here. You can do anything you want. If you want. Just ask. Yeah. And I've been trying to form an oil company and an exploration company. And get my guy Dan in BC, he's been 40 years, and I want to do oil. But all them Danny up in the north of the territories are so negative, they don't want to touch Mother Earth. And I said, why did I go to school all these years? But maybe I can help, I don't know. But I definitely know when I ran to Dr. Clifford Cardinal, and when he had the answer to clean up the tailings pond, 99.99% pure, he cleaned up Saddle Lake. It was 8 miles by 6 miles. There was oxygen, it was 40 feet deep. There was only suckers in the bottom 10 feet. He put his machines in there for 6 months. There was 95% oxygen. Got right back from 10%, and the big fish were coming back. And what has happened, we found out, they recommended, that fertilizer is seeping into our lakes and rivers, that takes out the oxygen. That's only one thing. And the Dene elder, the Cree elder over in Fort Smith, I went to visit him. I went to visit my favorite uncle, Uncle Number 11's mother and his father-in-law and mother-in-law. And I flew to Garden River. And my mother was dying, so I was on a helicopter there checking the fires. I went to visit Billy Dorr, late Billy Dorr and his wife. And they were talking in Cree to Ambrose. And Ambrose said, "My dad told me to tell you, In the springtime, when the big jackfish eat them little green frogs, there's a big sore on their back. So after I finished that summer job, I talked to my instructors, and after about a month, they said, oh, that's dioxins and furans coming from the 6 pulp mills in Peace River. So it's getting into the tiny little plants and into the frogs and into the fish, and eagles are dying because they're eating them big fish. They're stressed out. So that's just 2 problems there with water. And God only knows what else. There's tar sands, that's 3. So Dr. Clifford come along, and they've been everybody trying to put him down, and he has discovered something through prayer, that you can actually clean the water. So we just have to support each other and stop. And we have to forgive the white man. And I'm half white. And my close relative is President Jimmy Carter on my mother's side. We have to forgive, because if you don't forgive, it'll kill you. You have to forgive. You know? And they have to forgive us. We didn't mean to, those covered wagons. Ernest Datusis told me that when he used to say, they were coming across in the wagon trains. The young guys were told not to bother them. They went and did their thing. Creator punished us, he said. But right now, we're being forgiven for what we've done. I went up and got healed along with 199 other people at a service. So we're starting to get healed, and but we have to forgive. Because God forgives us, we have to forgive ourselves. Eh? That's the hardest thing, to forgive ourselves. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Frank.
Before I pass this microphone, I just want to share one little short story about my people and giving birth on the land. I just found out just now. I asked one of the elders, and they said, yes, when the moment comes, he says, everybody stops and the baby comes. I guess the mother is there, picks up the baby, and says, what a cute baby. Put it in her arm, and they keep walking. It's for you, the mothers and the grandmothers. And with this, I pass it on to you. He said 2 minutes, but I don't believe him.
Good afternoon. I was here on Sunday. My name's Rob Louie, and I will identify myself as, hello, my name's Rob, and I'm a recovering alcoholic. As I mentioned, on Sunday, I hold a diploma in public sector management from the University of Victoria, a bachelor's degree in political science from the University of Victoria, a Bachelor of Laws degree from the University of British Columbia, and I recently obtained my master's in law at York University in Ontario, specializing in constitutional law. I've also reapplied to the Law Society of British Columbia to practice law once again. And I'm also the president and founder of the Band Members Alliance, an advocacy association of Canada. Our mandate is to help band members get access to justice, especially when they're at odds with their leadership. I'm only going to take up 10 minutes of your time. Your time is valuable. You've paid your fees, and I want you to get something out of it. I want you to get some bang for your buck. Indigenous legal traditions is the topic. I'm going to provide you with just a short summary and then some real-life examples so that you have something to take away. I'm all about, takeaways, something like when you walk out of here, you think, oh yeah, I like what that woman had to say or that man had to say. I learned something new, or I didn't know that, or I knew that, but I didn't know that there was another part of the story. Indigenous legal traditions. I like the theory. There's nothing wrong with the theory. But in my experience, professional experience, the problem, and then I'll talk about the solution, the problem isn't the structure, the problem isn't the process. Rather, a process or structure is only as good as the people in it, the people running it, the people operating it. Indigenous legal traditions, and I'll use my own nation, the Kootenai Nation. So I'm one of those Kootenai Indians from Creston, BC that you talked about. He didn't even know that. We just met, by the way. Yeah, so that's where I'm from, or the Dunacha Nation. I did see on Sunday we're in southeastern British Columbia and Montana. We're on both sides of the border, but we were also historically in Alberta, in southern Alberta. So when you hear about Kootenay Plains or the Stoney tribe, there's a large family with the last name Kootenay, Joe Kootenay. Yeah, there's overlap with my people. In 30 seconds or less, the story that was told to me is when the Sioux came up with Sitting Bull and that. And then when they reached out to what's now southern Alberta, close to the Rocky Mountains, the Kootenays, we were there. And we helped hide them out from the Northwest Mounted Police, as they were known at the time. And of course, there was intermarriage and overlap. So one of the communities, one of the bands in my nation, Tobacco Plains near Fernie, BC, has Stoney blood in it too. There's overlap. So with that, one of the Kootenay, one of our traditions, legal traditions, if you want to call it, in other words, an authority, something that it's not optional, it's mandatory. Historically is when someone ran into a problem, when there was a problem person in the community, the remedy or the solution was for that person to go and sweat, the sweat sludge. Either 3 days, 7 days, but if it was an extraordinary event, it was 21 days they had to sweat consecutively. Banishment was the last resort. We had hereditary chiefs before the Indian Act came along. A hereditary chief, where I come from, used to hold a lot of power. They wielded a lot of power. The last hereditary chief for the Lower Kootenay, Creston, it was Chief Raymond Abraham. His Kootenay name was Three Moons. And his lineage can be traced back to the late 1700s. What they did there was, because he was from the Bonners Ferry, Idaho tribe, so Creston and Bonners only about half an hour away, even though there's a border there, U.S.-Canadian border. But they tried to blend the hereditary and the elected system together, and that didn't work out very well. The elected system, the elected leaders in Bonners had more written law, written power behind them than the hereditary system. Our hereditary system has a lot of power within our culture and our ceremonies, on the other hand. Now, let me fast forward it to today. The legal traditions that we're talking about today, I find sometimes, not all the time, but at times, it's like trying to make circles out of squares. And here's an example. Here's a real-life example. One of the court cases that we're in, BMAC, by the way, the Band Members Alliance and Advocacy Association of Canada, the organization that I head up, we have a handful of lawyers that work with us. And our services are free for band members. So if there's a band member or an elected councillor, a leader that's being got removed from the band council wrongfully, or was terminated wrongfully, give us a call. But here's a real-life example here in Alberta. The Chiniki First Nation down in southern Alberta by Morley. There was a custom, and I use my fingers like this, custom, Aboriginal custom, an Indigenous legal tradition that was at play for many decades, where during the time to decide their leadership, i.e. an election, that a person that had a grievance during the election, that saw something that was wrong, there's some sort of hanky-panky that went on, well, they had to take it to the appeal committee. There was a body that was comprised of folks that would oversee the appeal, that would hear the problem and then make a decision. That custom held that the person that's running, in this case it was one of the band councillors running again for office, that person actually sat as the appeal person. In other words, what I'm saying is, I'm the Chiniki person, the member running. This guy here is on council, the Chiniki Council. He's running too for the same position. During the election, I see some problems with him, but he gets back in. Well, I take it to the appeal. Well, guess who I'm sitting across from on the appeal? It's him. He's part of the appeal committee. That was part of the Chiniki custom. Now, in law, there's something called the nemo judice doctrine. Nemo judice is some fancy term for no person shall be a judge in their own case. When we took that to court, to the federal court this year in February, the federal court agreed that this custom, this indigenous legal tradition of having your competition sit as a decision maker over my case is wrong. It's legally and morally wrong. So now that has changed. Now we got that kicked out of the custom within the Chiniki First Nation. And then it was turned over back to the people for their decision, for their say, which is where it should have been in the first place. But as you can see, some of these internal problems, it's going to take some legal muscle. It's going to take more than just hope and prayer and let's try to find our way there. It's going to take some legal muscle. It's going to take some organization. And there's some people that are not going to like that. But if you're on the outside looking in, like some band members are, that's a good thing. Finally, there's going to be some change. Now, we're not looking to upset or undo the proper and the right Indigenous legal traditions, because that's in place. That's been in place since time immemorial. But what we're talking about is when that system is perverted, when that system has been twisted around for self-arrogation, for self-aggrandization, for self-interest, for self-serving motives of leadership. That's where the problem is. And I would defy anybody in here to say that your community at one time or another didn't have a problem like that, or you didn't know of a community that has those kind of problems, because we do. And yes, we talk about this white elephant in the room, or I guess maybe, I don't want to say white buffalo, that's sacred, but the white elephant in the room. Let's talk about that, these problems internally. And let's strengthen the Indigenous legal traditions that we have, but let's also do away with those traditions like I just mentioned, like in Chiniki, because that has no place. And all that does is serve the power imbalance that takes place right now. So I'm going to close on this note. There is hope. The key takeaway here is that the Indigenous legal tradition can coexist with the Canadian legal traditions. And it has been. Now, I'm not going to get too far off on the topic, but there's something called Aboriginal rights, Aboriginal law, and then there's Indigenous law. What's the difference? Aboriginal law, Aboriginal rights, comes from the Constitution Act, Section 35. Hunting, fishing, all that stuff, self-government. Indigenous law, on the other hand, comes from internally, like we're within a First Nation. And if the people agree to be governed by certain laws under the Indigenous, then that's the Indigenous law. As opposed to someone, an Aboriginal person like myself, say I want to go hunting here, and well, I can say Enoch, I can't hunt in public places because of public safety. But that's an Aboriginal right, that's not my Indigenous right. So as we're starting to write and look at our Indigenous laws internally, I would say let's be mindful of the problems. And if there's resistance, again, give BMAC a call, because we're here to help. We're here to be part of the solution. With that, my friends, thank you very much. And I will turn the mic over to Joanne.
Thank you all. That's very insightful, and yes, there's lots to be done. So I'm thinking Indigenous legal tradition is usually based on ceremony, but that can be confused with the Indian Act, which most of us want to get rid of. And nothing's going to happen overnight. There's all these internal things that need to be done, and we need to deal with them. And another one is Bill C-92, that everyone thought would be so great, that Indigenous people would get the rights of their children, and it holds no water. It hasn't been taken anywhere. It's not used. So, yeah, I'm thinking already, after our preamble, which I hope comes out of this gathering, is also definitions. How are we going to define this legal bundle going forward? and what do we don't want to repeat mistakes of, like you have hereditary chiefs and then you have Indian Act chiefs and chief and council according to the Indian Act and or treaty, but not really. It's not really following treaty, and you know, there's lots to be done, and I'm so glad everybody's looking at all of that. Now, something we've talked about last year and this year is children. And if Leona's here, is Lee here? She was going to talk some on the Longhouse. She probably got so tired of waiting. And or Sandy Bunn, they both wanted to have a little bit of time to talk about traditions that they have in the home, how they're moving forward, developing their own little industry, and bypassing some of the other ways that people are doing things. Oh, there she is. Okay. Sandy, do you want to come up? Because I think Lee is going to be bumped. Oh, door prizes. Okay, I saw that. Someone want to grab a door prize from out there? And thank you, gentlemen. Sorry it took so long, and you're all fountains of information, and please get a hold of these guys if you've got some questions and you want to find out more. Okay. So door prize, 9805436. We got a winner? Yay! Did someone grab a door prize from out there? I can't see people to order them around. Is Lyndon, can you grab a door prize? A door prize? It's just out that door, and to your right, there's a table. Thank you. Yeah. He's coming. Jacqueline Twin is our winner of whatever door prize comes out the door. Okay.
Are you ready? Okay. Hello. Can everybody hear me fine? I'm kind of nervous, but I won't keep you too long. I've made some notes. I was asked to make a number of blankets for this occasion, and I'll start out by introducing myself. My name is Sandy Bunn. I come from the Brandon area, but I'm originally from Bertel Sioux, and I have 4 of my daughters behind me, and they've all helped me in creating star blankets. I've been making star blankets for about 20 years now. And when I first started making them, it took me about a year to learn. I went to different people to learn different steps on how to make them. But I wanted to share some of the creations I have, which is an eagle, which is inspired by Eunice Kitchemunia, and the Thunderbird is just general, but the last one is the feather, and I created, that was one of my original creations. I have a couple of original creations. I also made a buffalo headdress, but when I was a little girl, I seen a star blanket set up in one of our relatives' home, and from then it always, I always wanted to learn the values of just making these creations. And I hear a lot of speakers come. You girls can sit down. Just sit down. Here. I just wanted to show everybody. But I hear a lot of people talk about how they grew up and the traditions that they carry and the teachings that they have. I never grew up like that. I grew up, both of my parents were residential school survivors. So they lost, and they went into residential school when they were pretty young. And I myself, I'm 45. And when my parents went into residential school, they went in when they were about 5 years old, and they came out when they were adults. And so they lost a lot of teachings, language. And so growing up, I never seen traditions. I never went to ceremonies. I didn't learn teachings. I had to go and find them for myself. And one of the things that I looked to was the star blankets. I always seen them as such an honor to receive. And I just told myself, I wanted to be one of the people that created that kind of honor and bestowed it upon people. So when I was around 20, I had 2 kids and I started learning. And over the years, I just, with trial and error, I learned how to create and incorporate and just really personalize star blankets to the person that's receiving them. And I've made them from many different kind of people, all kinds of leaders, all kinds of ceremonies, Washichu ceremonies and, indigenous ceremonies. And I've had 9 kids, and I've raised them all myself. And as they grew up, they all just sat around that quilting frame and started learning how to quilt. And this is how they make a little bit of their money too. I've had star blankets have taken me a lot of different places. They have inspired so many blessings and teachings that I've learned over the years. I wanted to share a couple of stories. The connections that star blankets have given me. I was down in Sisseton one year, and the Sundance chief, I was doing a 4-year giveaway there. So I made 3 headdress star blankets. I made 4, but I only gave 3 away at the Sundance. Anyway, after my giveaway, the Sundance chief came up to me and he said, "Okay, now I know what my father was talking about." He said there was 4 chiefs that were coming, or 3 chiefs that were coming. And he was wondering who was coming, what kind of men were coming. But after I did my giveaway, he knew what that dream meant, that these blankets were coming. So just those kind of connections I've had over the years. And there was more of a deeper connection that I've had with star blankets. I lost my son about 9 years ago to suicide, and that's kind of when that really deep healing began. And I didn't know. I used to volunteer for the school division and making star blankets, and I actually made his final blanket. I didn't realize that I was doing that over that year, but I didn't have the energy, and that's something I've learned even in the final ceremony, giving these blankets so that they can take on their journey, is that when somebody comes to me with that request for that final blanket, I just make it, and whatever they want to give me, they give me. And some people can't afford it, some people can, and either way, the person, their loved one, will leave with the blanket that's connected to them. And I've always really tried hard to make that connection to the star blanket, to the person. And So yeah, I've had many blessings like that, and I've had situations where I've just thought of colors and without the person telling me, and they've made the connection to the blankets themselves. So, and I've been asked to make all kinds of blankets, so I'm always willing to help any way I can. And the one thing I've learned is that when my son passed away, I didn't have the energy, I didn't have the money, and I just couldn't afford one myself. And so that's where I learned the value of creating that final blanket for someone too. So, but I'm here, and this is the first daughter here is, her name is Alora. I'm just going to introduce them. The second daughter is Oceana. The third one, she's Sadie, and the last one is Asia. So they all help me hand quilt. So all these blankets that I've made, it's all done by hand. I mean, the tops are hand sewn and whatnot, but we set it up, we sit around there, and we all quilt. So I have another daughter as well. She's older, and she helps too when she can. So yeah, and this is kind of what we do to just survive. I'm a single mother too, so I've raised my children, and Star Blankets have blessed us in so many ways. And I've always taught my daughters, when we make them, to just say a prayer for the people that we're making them for, and that, especially if it's for ceremony. I know when they go to ceremony, they get prayed on, all those blessings are collected. So, and I know some of that will come back to us. So I tell my daughters these kind of things too. What else can I share? So yeah, that's and it usually, in the beginning, it used to take me long because I used to make them by myself. So I had a bunch of kids around me just making them. But now, we together as a family, we can just whip one up real quick. And I've also, from this creation, this star creation, I've also made these star skirts. So I don't know if everybody has seen them, but I've also created this star skirt. And again, all these creations have really blessed my family. So I'm really thankful for the opportunity even just to be here. But if anybody has any questions or comments, you can just see us later. But yeah, I don't want to take too much of your time. So thank you, everyone. And I just wanted to add briefly, I know a lot of them talk, and the one teaching I did learn along the way is that these star blankets are a reminder of where we come from and where we will return to when we leave from here. So I just remember that, just hearing all of the speakers talk. And another thing I could share is because I had to search for a lot of these teachings by myself, and I had to go and offer that tobacco and follow those protocols. And my mom lost so much, and my dad wasn't present. Growing up, they weren't able to bestow those kind of ceremonies on me. Just those milestone ceremonies that we go throughout life. I just recently created a baby star blanket for myself, and it incorporated my Indian name. And I thought of, you know, and just even in my healing of creating this baby star blanket to honor that little girl spirit inside of me that my mom didn't know how to honor and didn't know how to nurture. It wasn't because she didn't love me, it was because she was stripped of all of those kind of bonds and teachings and, you know, just love, really. So I created this baby star blanket for myself, and it represents me. And when the time is right, it's not finished yet, it's almost, but when the time is right, I'll do that ceremony for myself, just reconnecting to that little girl spirit. So that's something I've also come to learn on my own. So yeah, but that I really wanted to share with you guys as well. So thank you.
Joanne's just stepped out for a minute to get some more tobacco. She should be right back. I don't have any stories unless I'm talking about myself. Well, maybe I could go ahead and start. I guess she was looking for me. I'll just grab my notes then.
Yeah, just before we get on to the next presentation, just a reminder that there is a banquet tonight. I believe it's here. Tomorrow we have I think we go about half a day, and then we have a mini round dance in the evening to close things off. We'll have 2 p.m. closing ceremonies. We'll have some honoring guests. We'll have door prize, and then we'll have the mini round dance. We'll have a giveaway there too as well. Yeah, so we started off with an agenda, but it evolved along the way because I guess it was supposed to. You can't stop change. But having said that, with the changes that we have something to work with within the next year because there's a 4-year commitment to this gathering. And I'm glad that you guys all came to support this. And the next 2 years, I hope you guys come back because there's going to be a lot more new things that we're going to be adding on. So yeah, we're just waiting for Joanne to introduce our next speaker. So just bear with us for a few minutes.
Well, now I need somebody with nails because I can't open this plastic bag with the tobacco. Because I'd like to give Sandy some tobacco and her girls for sharing. It's amazing what they're doing when we let go and let Creator come in to our lives. And unfortunately for a number of us, we've got to really run into a wall before we go, okay, maybe I need a little bit of faith in my life. Help me get through the next minute, the next hour, the next day. So our next presenter here, she will also introduce herself. Lee Ferguson, I've known for quite a while now. And we've intersected at different times in our lives with the choices we made and things we needed to do. And I'm very happy to have her here today and getting more of a sense of belonging of who she is and where she's come from with all the challenges she's had to face, as many of us, I shouldn't say many of us, but a number of us were in the system and went through our own journey by being in the system. So sometimes that gives us more incentive to really move forward, and Lee is one of those women that have, she's strong and she's just not taken any BS, and she's kept moving forward, and we support her wholeheartedly. Lee Ferguson, she's Eastern Algonquin, but she'll tell you more.
This is really loud, and I'm loud. Good afternoon. I'm very humbled to be here. My name is Lee Ferguson, formerly Leona Ferguson. I am Algonquin from Temiskaming on the Ontario-Northern Quebec border. And I follow a matriarchal lineage where some challenges have fallen upon my shoulders and my family. I'm a cookum and an auntie and a nana. So I haven't been raised on the reserve. I didn't even know I was Native until I was 20, and my uncle told me, as my mother had passed when I was 12. We were put into foster care, separated, and I ran from every home I was in. There was a reason. I don't need to go into details. They're all different reasons, but they're all negative. So now that I'm a cookum and an auntie, I must say that I'm not any cookum and any auntie. I have raised 3 generations now of some of my extended family members. I have a master's degree in social welfare from Berkeley, California. And I have over 30 years of social work experience working with different population groups. I currently work for the government of Alberta, and I am currently a kinship caregiver. 3 months ago, 2 little children, I guess you would say they're my grandnieces and nephews, were put in my home. So the fact that I do have a background in social work gives me the strength to carry on with the systemic barriers that are inherent in the children's services system. And that's why I'm here today to advocate for the Longhouse model, for it to be built, to create our own rules and regulations, policies, and to have our own people running it. I think sometimes we need to stop and take a pause and look back on the way things once were, and I don't see any reason why or what's stopping us from going back to some basics with the Longhouse model. So I'll try and stick to my notes. I'm already off track. Let's see, there's so much I wanted to say. I mean, from Mr. Tom Porter to everybody that has spoken here today, I must say I've gleaned some synergy from all of what they have shared. the truths that have been spoken in this room. I don't think I've ever quite been to a conference where it's been so honest, and it just makes me so humble. So some of the things that I find with the kinship care model that are problematic is first, that it's parents. It seems like a hierarchy where parents are parenting me and then telling me what to do on how to parent the children. Every time I turn around, I'm being told, no, you can't do that. No, you can't change daycares. No, you can't change her school. No, you can't buy them this. You're only allowed $25. I mean, it just goes on and on. No, the policy says you can't do that. I mean, I just feel like they're running my whole life for the past 3 months. And I can't even imagine how other cookums and other aunties that are doing kinship care, how they must feel. I'm sure they must feel the same kind of oppression that I have felt, not just with the kinship care models that they have out there now, but also with the income support program, with so many other social programs that are the majority of people that historically have been using them are First Nations people. So I have to ask, why are we not running our own programs and services? And, you know, it's great to build a longhouse, but if you don't have the authority to create your own legislation, your own policies, your own rules, then we're just still doing nothing more than working in a patriarchal system that is governed by, I guess, for lack of a better word, white people. I am half white. My dad is Caucasian, and my mother is, of course, Native from Algonquin territory. So that's what I'm here to say. If we're going to do it, let's do it right. And there's nothing stopping us from starting to action this plan or put the plan together and start actioning it. I think we need lots of partnership, and I think every one of us in this room are here for that type of purpose. Of course, there's going to be lots of legalities along the way, but it's the 20th century. We have tons of educated First Nations people in Canada now, lots of lawyers, lots of social workers. What more do we need? Oh yes, cookums, elders, aunties. We need them the most because, as you may know, generations are going by and we're going to lose these people, and they are so special in our community and they have the knowledge. If we don't get that knowledge now, we never will. So we need to do it. The time is right now politically with Children and Family Services beginning to figure out how they can hand over children's services to the bands. So this needs to fit in somewhere, because there are lots and lots of First Nations people that live in Alberta but are not from Treaty 6, 7, and 8. We also need their help, Treaty 6, 7, and 8, to make this happen. Who knows? We may need to have a piece of land to build the longhouse on. All these particulars have to be figured out, but I can't see any reason why it can't be done and why it can't start today. And that's why I'm here to support that vision. I'm not sure what else I have to say. I've had so much to say that has spun off of every guest speaker's synergy since we've been listening all day. Like, I do work for income support, and I really don't care if I'm fired for this or not. Like I say, I've done my time, 15 years. I'm running out of time, I'm getting older, and I know that the next 15 years matters to me in contributing to my First Nations community. Whether I know the culture really, really well or not, I know that that's where my heart's always belonged. I don't want to hide behind a desk in a government office anymore. Enough is enough. I've seen too much. Just the other day, I went to work. We use kind of like a group text system at work. So my teams, I look at the teams, It's called Teams. And there's one of my colleagues saying out loud publicly to all of her colleagues in the team, I being one of them, "Oh, ha 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 ha, I just made a grown woman cry. Ha 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 ha." I thought to myself, I bet you it was an Aboriginal woman. Because the income support system does have, a large population of First Nations people receiving income support. And that's why I've stayed so humble and stayed in my little job for 15 years. I always felt like they needed me. If I left, who else is there? There's not many First Nations working in that system. But my time is coming now, and it's time to transfer the rest of my strong will, the rest of my bold comments. I can't seem to sugarcoat anything. And that might be why I never went very far in the income support program, but that's okay. I would rather be able to defend my people, support my people, and advocate for my people. I'm not worried about money or climbing up the corporate ladder or anything to do with that. But my time's running out, and I'm here now to basically say, I'm on board with this plan. I've known Joanne for so many years, and I think it's time we are able to be allowed, if I may say, to do it our way. Their way hasn't been working. Look at how many times they've changed the models, they've changed their names, they've changed it to community authorities, and still we have the same outcomes over and over and over again. So why not let us take the reign and start from the top? It's a business to them. It's not a business to us. It's in our veins, it's in our blood, it's in our DNA, it's in our heart and souls. Let us do it. We will do a better job. I can guarantee that for our own people. But they have to let us do it our way. New legislation, new policies, and not having them be a parent above us, telling us yes, 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 or no, no, no. I don't like that. I think it's oppression. I've worked in an oppressive system. I am in a kinship program that is full of oppression, and the way that we're treated is with such disrespect, it's unbelievable. So I'm here today to defend all kinship caregivers, all First Nations people, and I'm here to fight for the right to do it our way. Thank you very much.
Lyndon, I'll pick on Vern. Vern, you have to stop talking now. I'm triggering you into oppression. No. If you want to just go out that door and pick out a couple of door prizes, and we'll pick some more. Let's do 3. Yeah. So, I just want to recap a little, and as you notice on day 4, people that are passionate about any one of these objectives that we had, so there's the youth memorial ride, and why do we do that? It's to integrate it. You know, we know things need to change. We know we need to get our youth enthused. We know we need to get suicide under control. How do we do that? Well, it's like when you make a prayer bundle to take inside or a prayer robe or a prayer tie, everybody calls them something different, and you take them inside our Inipi ceremony, our sweat lodge, and you hang it up. You've set something in motion. You prayed for someone. If we go to a Sundance and we put prayer ties around the tree, we've set something in motion. When we go vision seeking and we do our 405 ties around our vision seeking circle, we've set something in motion. We've made a commitment within ourselves to believe something beyond ourselves, to make it better for ourselves or for our families or for someone who's really suffering with the many diseases that are out there. So by doing that horseback ride from, let's say, Crow Creek, or I just heard about another one from another part of South Dakota. It's not as far south as Crow Creek in South Dakota. And the run on Christmas Eve, you're setting something in motion for those youth, and they're going to remember it. They're dancing on the earth, either on a horse or they're on, they're doing a run. It's beyond, a powwow, a round dance. It's a serious commitment. These are for days at a time. So what I understand of our Indigenous legal traditions, and as Clifford Cardinal outlined, is there's a process. How did our 7 ceremonies come to us with our sacred pipe? Well, there were visions, there were dreams, there were gatherings. None of this came overnight. How did Bill W. come up with the 12 steps? He was wrapped in a coat that he has to hug himself all the time. They used to call them straitjackets, and he's in the hospital, and he has a vision. The only way people are going to get well is one drunk helping another drunk. And this went all over the world. It's in all languages, and it's worked. Mother Teresa, how does one person help another person in Calcutta? It has to be one hungry person helping another hungry person. So it's kind of like minds. And so you hear this in a lot of spiritual traditions, is 2 or more of you can make this happen. And what if there's a whole room full of people that can make this happen? Do you want to keep seeing kids go into care? Well, what can we do about it? We can set up our own healthy longhouse. It doesn't have to be called a longhouse, but they've already demonstrated that in the East, where the whole community is looking after the children. So we have our healthy grandmothers and grandfathers looking after our children that provide them with those traditional ways of parenting, not on a flip chart. They're there. They're parenting them in that traditional way. And you also have whatever else attached. If you need a nurse, a doctor, here, we had a doctor right here, Clifford Cardinal. Pretty cool guy. He's a medical doctor. He does a million things. Does he run around saying he's a doctor and he's this and that? No. It's about serving the people. Crazy Horse was so important to our Lakota people, Tashunkawit, because he did not follow the rules. He's supposed to. He didn't make 405 ties. He went and talked to Creator directly, and he had that vision of what he was supposed to do. And one of the things he did that nobody else was doing at that time is he hunted and he dropped food at the doorway of all the old people who could no longer hunt for themselves. Our hero. We can all be heroes in a way if we're willing. And as many people have said today, the willingness, and yesterday and the day before. So what I understand of vision, that is all important to our development of our Indigenous legal traditions. And most of the ones that have worked really well came from visions. And even if you go into the Bible, you look at Hebrews 8:8-13. And Christ is saying to the people, I will write the laws on your minds and in your hearts, and you will know me. And you won't have to tell each other how to get to God or how to get to the higher power. It's already there. It's already in the DNA. So even with our peoples all over the earth, we have a form of understanding that. And so how do we make that into our bundle of laws for North America? Carl Jung called it the phenomena of knowing. So you come across something, you're working on yourself, you're trying to get your life sorted out, and you have this phenomena of knowing. And as Leona said, synergy. If you're in a good place within yourself, you're going to be running into all kinds of people focused in the same direction, and you can do things together. And I really hope this comes out of what we're doing here. And tomorrow, when we have our groups, that you'll go, okay, I want to be on this longhouse thing. I want to be on this youth thing. I'm going to find those horses. I'm going to find those people, and we'll make it happen. We'll raise the funds. We'll get it going for these youth. And for the legal bundle. I hope Rob Louis, if he's in here still, will be part of that, so that we have there's so much to that, right? But traditionally, we renewed our laws every 4 years, so we weren't dragging around, libraries of laws, why? Anyway, and part of that should be the protection of ceremonies, as Elder George and Tom have talked about, because if we don't have the protection of ceremonies, a lot of misuse of those ceremonies happens. The one person I couldn't get here this time, well, there were a lot of people I couldn't get here. That's why I invited so many, because as my late husband used to say, you invite people, probably half will show up. But was Glenn Morris, Shoshone from University of Denver. He's a professor, and he helped the Molokai in Hawaii get their sovereignty. So maybe next year, I think a few people have said in the last while that next year they'll be able to come. And a few other things on the charter. So again, I hope Rob's part of this, because the charter is another way of dealing with things in between time. One thing that we've noticed in the Lakota culture, and I think also I've seen it mentioned in the Haudenosaunee, is when we committed to going to a Sundance, we went 4 days ahead of time, we were there for 4 days, and we were 4 days afterwards, and maybe another 4 days when we transited back into our urban community, like a 16-day cycle. And a lot of us can't do that anymore because of whatever reason. Maybe it's our work. If we take that much time off, we're going to be fired. We're supporting our families. And so how do we get that time back? Because if we don't have that time to pray, grieve, dance, recover, then we're, again, out of balance, and we go back into whatever work we're doing, and we don't have that balanced mind and that focus to do the next task that needs to be done. Not that things can't be done, not that, there's a hard and fast way of doing things, because we know where that's gone and what's happened with that. We need to be able to bend and flow like that water does, like that water that got cleaned up when people went back into ceremony and remembered how to do things. The water that's in us and the water that flows all over the earth. One of the teachings I learned from Marie Randall, grandmother Marie Randall, she was from Rosebud. When we went to, so the 1998 gathering was all elderlies that did the teachings, and she talked about the water around the fetus. And if that water isn't protected, as Tom was saying, there's not arguments, there's not, people drinking and whatever around that mother who's carrying that child, then the water on the earth is also going to be affected. It's a dynamic. We need to look after the water around the fetus so that the water on the earth is okay, and vice versa, So that's the little recap. So if you're interested tomorrow, and you're already got your was it Perot? I love British mystery, excuse me. But anyway, the little gray cells in your brain percolating of how we could do a preamble for this law bundle and what we might call it, and what are the most important things we want to put in there. And Longhouse, as Leona said, we need a place to build it. We need to have those people that are committed to looking after children in a good way, in a healthy way, in a healing way. And we need those people that are committed to making sure our youth aren't committing suicide anymore, that they want to see them live, they want to see them be parents, we want to see them enjoy the beauty of life, hear those birds sing. And as Clifford Cardinal said, that no, it's not about money. And at the same time, so for our Lakota people, when someone heals somebody, when you realize how important life is, we give a wopala, we give a gifting ceremony to that person, because no amount of money can give us our lives back, right? But if there's people that have that healing ability and they give us that life back, they give us that vision back, they give us our souls back. People talk about soul retrieval now. When they give us those things back, is there any measure to that? You know? We really don't have a life without it. But especially in the cities, a lot of our young people, they're very confused. Social media, they go to West Edmonton Mall all the time. They have not been to ceremony. They don't know what ceremony will bring them. And so it's up to each and every one of us that carry culture and that are really concerned about these things to find our common ground and make it happen for the future for our young people. So we have, door prizes, there they are. I'm not sure, is it 3308? Okay, so we have Chief Clarence Louis at 5:30. We have a grand entry. Banquet's at 6. He'll be speaking at 6:30. We have a bit of time between now and then. I'm going to do some more door prizes. I'm wondering, Elder Dr. Tom Porter, if you wanted to say a few more words, or you want to go to tomorrow, and how are other people in the room? Are you willing to listen, to be in here? You want to go outside and they're building guitars and drums and sewing skirts and doing all kinds of wonderful things out there. Again, it's up to everybody here if we want to go forward and listen some more. I could listen to Tom talk for hours. It's just amazing, all the Indigenous law that the Haudenosaunee already hold. Are you good with that? Yay! Okay, so door prizes first. And if someone could get Tom tea or some snacking stuff. Okay, door prizes. Get your tickets out. 980-5617. 980-5617. Woo! Okay, all right. All right, get a picture, send it to me. Another one, I think we got 3 here. All right. I didn't get a ticket, so it's okay if I draw. Okay. 980-5515. 980-5515. Going once, going twice. 980-5515. Okay. All right, I'm picking another one. La 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 la. Okay. Oh, I got two. Uh-oh. Okay. 980-5427. 980-5427. 980-5427. Holy smokes. This is gonna be like, what was it last night? It was like 5 tickets. For, my God. All right. Okay. 980-5433. 980-5433. You're kidding. Oh, right on. All right. Woo. And if, yes, hold them up, take a picture. Somebody, I don't have my phone here. Hold them up. Yeah, they're beautiful. They look like a Haudenosaunee design. Okay, right on. All right, last one. 980-5602. 980-5602. 980 5602. No, no. Okay. Sorry, Tom, this is just going on and on and on. Okay. Here's another one. Hopefully not like the other one. 980-5510. 980-5510. 980-5510. Okay, I'll pick one more, and if it's not it, then we'll just hold off on this till later. Nine 980-5585. Oh, right on. Woo! Okay, Tom. All yours if you still feel like talking. If you want to sit and
No, it's okay. You can do it. I had 3 kind of messages, so I'm going to try to do it real quick, I guess, because the day is going down, sun is going down, and pretty soon everybody's got to go to sleep. And everybody's tired too, because sitting all day and listening, that's harder to do than to dig a ditch all day, mentally. so I know that. First one, I just wanted to tell you, for whatever it's worth, because you said legal bundle. So I want to say a few things about that. Where we live in the Haudenosaunee country, Iroquois country, we were raised that we belong to the Mohawk Nation, or Seneca belongs to Seneca Nation. So we have our own constitution, our own leader men, our own leader woman, and our faith keepers, ceremony keepers, and our record, our historian. They use wampum belts, not the archival like the museums have. Everything that we have is pre-European to keep our tradition going. And I know that our leaders always told us since I was a little boy not to vote in Canadian elections and not to vote in Americans' elections, because we're not an American and we're not a Canadian. We belong to the Mohawk Nation that's here before Canada and here before United States. And so our leaders always told us that. So our Mohawks and Senecas and Onondagas, the traditional people, never ever voted, even to this day. Because in international law, it says treaties are made by sovereign nations. So if we join the Canada and vote there, we will become Canadian. And then our treaty will be terminated, because international law says only nations can make treaty. Not a citizen of a country can't make a treaty with his own citizen. Do you follow what I'm saying? That's international law. And that's the basis, I think, why our leader said that. But that's just for, I put it out there for thought, if it has implication to the reality of you. But it has for me. And so that's the way I teach my children too. And so Canada and the Mohawk Nation, or Iroquois Nation, we are allies together, two sovereigns. And we are also ally with the United States. We're two countries. And that's what the treaty called the Two-Row Wampum Treaty means. It was made in 1610 between the Dutch and then the French and then the English and the American and the Canadian. It means two separate roads on a river. The big vessel and the canoe of our people will be brothers, parallel. They will go into the future on the river. We will never jump in our white brothers' vessel to steer it, meaning we will never legislate law to steer their boat. And they will never jump into our canoe to steer the course of our canoe. But together, as brothers, we will go on the river into the future. And that's called sovereignty. It was made. And that's the basis of all treaties after that was made. And then the other one I want to share with you real quick is all those treaties the Haudenosaunee people uses wampum belts made out of quahog shell from the ocean. This here is in beads, but it's the same replica of the real treaty, this one here. And all belts, and there are many, many hundreds of them, that were made with Crees, was made Ojibwe, made with Mi'kmaq, made with Dutch, made with French. And all those treaties, and there were many, many treaties made before the white man came here with a Cree nation or Ojibwe nation, Lakota nation, before the white man. All those belts, Onondagas called those belts that contain the treaty agreements between nations, they call it Gaswanta. Mohawk, our dialect is a little different. We call it the Gaswateta. And I will translate it, so every treaty is called the Gaswateta. And I will translate it, what it means. When the sun shines on a very beautiful day, you can see everything. You can see all the people in all the village and every rivers because the sun is shining. So now you can see good. And everything is clear and defined. And so those treaties, we call it the Gaswateta, it's just like the sun is shining. Between the agreement we made, every detail, we can see it clear, which will cement our brotherhood into the future. We will not boss each other, but equally two brothers we will be. So that's the way we look at Canada, as a sovereign brother, but different. And we are sovereign, and together we'll go into the future as brothers. And then in 1620, they made, they call silver covenant chain. It wasn't our idea because we don't have no silver chain. It was the Dutch people in 1610 who said we can't just talk about it or have a wampum for like you do. So they want to write it down. And then they said we'll use a silver covenant chain to make an example of our brotherhood in our treaty. Because silver is strong and it won't break. But silver tarnishes when air touches it over time. And silver also can gather dust over time. And so when it does this, every time there's a new leader in the white men, they're supposed to call all our leaders to sit down every time there's a new leader and to polish the silver chain to take the tarnish off so that the agreement will be new as it was in 1610, even though it's 2022. That was the promise. But the British and the Americans broke that promise over and over again. And it was their idea to begin with. But they never followed the truth of their word. That's why our people has a hard time to believe them. Because they've never shown us they've never shown us that they know how to follow truth and the word of promise. So in the future, we have to fix that. That's the young people's got to do it. And they will, if the world is going to have peace. So that's all I'm going to say about that part, because it's a legal bundle, right, today? And I thought that we were going to talk about the Great Law at some point, but it's too late now to talk about it. When that law is going to be talked about, it's got to be in the morning time, when everybody's mind is fresh and ears are like rabbit, can catch every word when they're talking. So maybe tomorrow morning, if we get up early, we can do it. I will try to do it. But if we do it tomorrow morning, it's taken 10 or 11 days, 5 hours each day. That's the Great Law story. And my job, if we do tomorrow, will be to condense 10 or 11 days into maybe an hour. And so if we do it tomorrow, it will be the Reader's Digest form, because we can't be here for 10 days. So for whoever the organizers here, put it under your pillow tonight and come up with a plan tomorrow and let me know. And I'll be waiting. The other thing I want to tell you, because I heard talking, I've been listening, is we can't wait. We've got to do it. With the residential school and missionaries, what they did to us, and colonization, what they did to us, My uncle always says, you and I, the Native people, have to pull our own pants up. We can't wait for the BIA in the United States or the Indian Affairs in Ottawa. They're never going to help us, really, to do what they're supposed to do. If we're going to get better, we've got to do it ourselves, because they're not going to help us. Not really. We'll help each other, though. If we heal from the hurts, we will help each other. Now, in that regard, we all send our kids to a Canadian school or American school. The purpose of Canadian school and American school is to make 100% citizens out of American people. That's why they start kindergarten, and every day in American schools they have to pledge allegiance to the United States flag. Every day. Because I went to those schools and that's what they made us do. In Canada, I don't know, I didn't go to school, it's at this site. I don't know what they do. But Canada also wants all the people that goes to their school to become 100% Canadian citizen. And if the Crees and the Mohawks and everybody does that, then we are not allowed no more treaty, because a citizen cannot have a treaty with another citizen, same country. If the elders is true, what they told us, that needs to be legally analyzed and then given us the information from the analyzation. Well, what we did 40 years ago, we know that. So our people said, well, let's not send our kids to Canadian school no more. Let's not send it to American school no more. Let's make our own school. And so we did. It's called the Akwesasne Freedom School. It can only hold 60 kids, because we had to build a school with our own hands, our own hammer and our own saw, and put a roof on it 40-something years ago, with no grants or no program money from Canada or United States. We had spaghetti suppers, corn soup suppers. We had raffle this, raffle that, and that's how we built that school. And then how are we going to pay the teachers? We had to raffle again, spaghetti dinner again, and all the parents had to do the janitor work, sweep the floor every day at that school, because we couldn't hire a janitor. The parents had to do it. And all my kids went to school. Almost every other day I have to wash the floor at that school, because I'm a father to my kids. And we all took turns. That's 40 years ago. And my own people in my reservation, they're so used to colonization that when we want to make school, they had no self-conscious in their own self. And when we made that school, my own people and relatives said, if you send your kids to the Freedom School, they're all going to be dummies. They won't know how to talk English. They won't know how to do mathematics. They won't know how to do history. They'll be dummies. My own people said it. It wasn't white men, my own people. And that hurts more than if a French or English people says that to me, because I'm used to it that way. But when your own doesn't trust your own self, that's bad. So we have to hire now teachers that talks Mohawk. And our school, every class all day is in Mohawk. Mathematics, science, history, every class is completely in the Mohawk language. And it went from pre-K to the 7th grade. All my kids, I have 6 kids, 5 girls and 1 boy. And they all went to that school. Our own school. And you know what happened? The schools where they used to go, where most kids went to school, which my kids never did, the United States government pays double when an Indian goes to school. The state pays the tuition, And under treaty, from the treaty they made, federal pays another one. So an Indian gets paid twice to go to school. White man gets half because of the treaty. So when we took 60 kids out of the school, all the non-native people around the reservation got mad because they're losing lots of money now. 60 kids not going to get paid to go to their school. And so they went to the governor of the state of New York, and they asked the governor, Como, that all the 60 kids' parents are truant and illegal what they're doing because they're not sending them to a public school of United American New York State. So they went to Albany, to the governor of the New York State, and demanded that he stop the Freedom School dead in its tracks. It's illegal. You know what the governor told them? Because we went through a civil war where we live. I know you think you've heard about it. Twice we went to a civil war, and 2 Mohawks were killed with AK-47s. When we have trouble, we have trouble. But we still land on our feet. And when they went to see the governor to stop the Freedom School, the governor says to those parents, well, non-native parents, I'm not going to touch the Mohawk people with a 10-foot pole. Let them have their school because he doesn't want a war with us. That's 40 years ago. Guess what? When my 2 daughters finished the 7th grade, and it's all in Mohawk for 7 years, they're done. Now they can go to a white man's high school, but there's several of them. But the one in town of Messina, that's where the lawyers and the doctors sends their kids. And the curriculum is hard because they prepare them to be success in the university. So I told my kids, you want to go there or you want to go to the other high school where they don't have a good curriculum. They don't make you work too hard. Most Indians go there. And they said to me, you're my father, you decide for us. I said, how about you try the white people's school, the one real hard classes where lawyers and doctors sent their kids. Okay, they said, because you're our father, we're going to try it. So they went to school, and most of my relatives, they're going to be dummies, right? They went to school, and the first report card came. My younger daughter and my older daughter, they went the same time there, because they graduated the same time, the Indian school, Freedom School. My younger daughter came back and showed me a report card. She's on the honor roll. And my other daughter gave me her report card, 1 more mark, and she would have been on the honor roll. And I cried. Big tears came down. My kids are supposed to be dummies. So I went to all my relatives who said my kids are going to be dummies because they went to our own Freedom School. I showed them the report card. They're on honor roll, and one just missed by 1 point. Can I see your kids' report card? None of their kids is on honor roll because they went to the smart school. And so now, 40 years later, those kindergarten little Mohawk kids are now the principal of the Freedom School and are the teachers who are teaching Mohawk immersion every day. And those are the ones that went to college more than the other Indians that went to public American schools. So you got to pull your own pants up because nobody's going to pull it up for us. Don't be afraid. What that lady is talking about a while ago, if you want to do something, don't wait for them. Let's do it. Let's help ourselves. Let's be sovereign. Let's be free. And so that's all I want to say about that part. And remind me tomorrow, before, if we have the time for the great law, at some point, I have a message, a very important message, spiritual message about the Mother Earth. And I want to share with that to you. But so remind me tomorrow, if sometime I can tell you that. But right now, everybody's tired. I want to tell you something to see if you're going to laugh. Because Creator wants us to smile every once in a while. Wants us to be happy once in a while. So I'm going to try to give you this little story to see if it'll tickle your heart. You know, Iroquois people, Mohawk people, we are mostly working every day, but we do iron work. I don't know if y'all know what iron work is. It's the ones who build those skyscrapers in New York City, 1,000 foot up in the air, or big bridges, and connect the iron that makes those big skyscrapers. That's what we do. My father was big boss on that, and I was an iron worker for many years when I was young. And then my son, the only one son, he was also an iron worker. Well, in Onondaga, Syracuse, New York, that's the capital of the Iroquois Confederacy. It's like our Ottawa for the Indians, or our Washington, D.C. for the Indian, is in Syracuse. Onondaga is the capital of the Iroquois Confederacy. That's where the main fire of our longhouse is. Well, they have a big restaurant. It's bigger than this room. It's made out of log house. And they're good cooks, the Onondagas. You taste stir-fry bread, steaks, anything you want. You go there. They're all Indian cooks. They're good cooks. Greasy as can be. Good food. And so there's 3 Indian. There are some of them my relatives. They retired from iron work because they're 70 years old now. So they quit iron work. They got too old. And they didn't see each other in a long time. One is a Mohawk from my community, one is an Onondaga, and one is a Seneca from Tonawanda Reservation. They were all iron workers. So they all made an agreement to go to the big log house restaurant in Onondaga to reunite because they were lonesome to see each other. So they sat at the table and they ordered coffee and breakfast. And all of a sudden, this Seneca guy, right here on his cuff of his shirt, it went zit, 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 zit. And that Seneca from Tonawanda, he go, hello, I can't talk to you right away. I'm visiting my friends from Mohawk and Onondaga. I'll call you back later. Bye. Put his arm down, shut off the phone. The phone is in the weave of his shirt. And the Mohawk looked at him, big eyes. Onondaga looked at that son and said, where in the heck did you get a shirt that's got telephone in the cuff? Gee, that's nice and fancy. He says, oh, I got it at Macy's in Manhattan, New York City. A little while later, this time the Onondaga guy, as he's drinking coffee, the collar on his shirt went zit, zit, zit. So he picks his collar up, the Onondaga guy, and he tells him Mohawk, in front of the Mohawk and Seneca, and he said, hello. Oh, I can't talk to you right away. I'm visiting my Mohawk brother and my Seneca brother. I'll call you back later on. Bye. Put the collar down. And the Seneca was shocked, even though he had one in his. And the Mohawk really shocked. Holy, where did you get that one? Phone right in the collar of your shirt. And he said, oh, I was in San Francisco iron working, and I've seen it, and I bought it. And the Mohawk from my reservation, he didn't have no fancy cuff shirt that's a telephone, and he didn't have no collar with telephone in it. And he was kind of embarrassed because he doesn't have no modern technology. So he said, oh, jiwaksuntanu waks. That means he's rubbed his belly. He says, oh, I got sour stomach. He says, I don't feel good. And so the Seneca and Onondaga man said, well, just go across the room over, there's a John over there, restroom. Go relieve yourself. Maybe your sour stomach, go away. She jumped up, that Mohawk, and he ran in the bathroom because he was so embarrassed. He didn't have nothing to show them. Now it's his turn. So he went in the bathroom. He was so glad he won't have to see them. Pretty soon he was gone, long time. Seneca, Onondaga man, said, I wonder what happened to that Mohawk. He went in that bathroom and he didn't come out. Maybe he's sitting on that toilet. Maybe he died or he's real sick. So they're going to get up from the table and go see him. Maybe he needs help. But just as they stood up from their table to go see him, the door from the bathroom opened and out came the Mohawk man. And guess what? He had a long tail of toilet paper hanging from the waistband of his pants, following him like a tail. And that Mohawk and that Seneca and Onondaga, look at that Mohawk guy. Look at that toilet paper hanging on the side of his waistband from his pants. They were making fun of him. Like, he got to the table, the Mohawk guy, and they laughing. They said, "Hey, Mohawk brother, you got big, long toilet paper hanging on the back of your pants." And the Mohawk says to the Onondaga Seneca, "Brothers, don't worry. That's a fax coming in." Did you get it? So I hope that tickled your heart. So I say good night to you, and it was so wonderful to see you all. I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, everyone, take a break till 5:30. Chief Clarence Louis has joined us, unless he wants to say a few words before the 5:30. There's all kinds of microphones around here. Some of them work, some of them don't. Maybe not.
Tom Porter, I first heard you speak when I was at the University of Lethbridge, I think it was 42, 43 years ago. And I had you come to Osuyus about 20 years ago or something like that. You came to our res in BC in Osuyus. And it was so cool when I walked in the door here, I recognized your voice right away. So Limlimt in my language, thank you. I just caught part of what you were speaking about here today. And I want to chat with you in a few minutes here. So good to see you, Tom, as one of our leaders. When I was in university at Lethbridge, Native American Week, they called it back then. And Tom came and spoke to us there. And ever since then, and we actually taped you. I had them on cassettes. And Orrin Lyons was there, and Floyd Westerman was there, and old Earl person from the Blackfoot tribe in Montana. Many of them have passed on. And it's so awesome when I heard that Tom Porter was going to be here today speaking. I thought, when they invited me here, I thought, I'm going to go because I haven't seen you in 40 some odd years. So Limlimt in my language, and I'll be speaking here at the banquet tonight. And I've had the chance to travel throughout Indian country, the U.S. and Canada, for the past 36 years is my time as being chief of the Osuyus Indian Band. We're all getting old. We're getting old, Tom, but as you said back then, our people have to wake up. You know, it's about time our people wake up. And I remember those words 40 some odd years ago when I was a student, 19 years old at the time. And man, when you get over 50, time just flies. And some of what you said here tonight that I heard you just a few minutes ago, you said to us in Lethbridge at the Native American Week there. So it's so awesome to see that you're still going and you're still traveling the country, because your words are important, as they were to me, and I still remember them from 40 years ago. So as a First Nation leader that has traveled this country, and I've been on over 300, last count I did, I was on over 300 Indian reserves or reservations during my travels, and I'll be speaking about that tonight here in a couple hours. So to the organizers, thank you for putting together such a good list of speakers teachers that our people, young and old, need to hear. So I look forward to speaking here tonight in a couple hours, and it's good to be back here in Cree country. Lim Lim, thank you.
Okay, and there's also, they're building guitars and drums and making regalia and peeling teepee poles and stuff like that. That'll still be going on for probably another hour if anyone's interested. The vendors are out there. And we'll pause from this room. So I have to let the new people know that Tom showed us that we don't clap. We go aho. I don't think we're catching on very quickly because we don't want to make anyone feel bad. We